The arena was silent. Thousands of aliens from different galaxies watched from their seats. They had come to see blood. They had come to see death. The Galactic Fighting Championship was the most watched event in the known universe. Only the strongest warriors from each species could enter. Only one could leave alive. Kira stood in the center of the sandy floor. She was human. She was small compared to most fighters here. Her body was covered in old scars from many battles. Her dark hair was tied back. Her eyes were focused and calm. In her hands, she held two curved swords made from the strongest metal humans could create. The announcer's voice echoed through the massive stadium. From the planet Earth, the only human to ever reach the final round of the championship. She has killed 17 opponents in this tournament. She is called the Human Blade, Kira. Some aliens cheered. Most laughed. Humans were considered weak in the galaxy. They had no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no thick skin. They were soft creatures from a small blue planet. Nobody expected Kira to survive this long. Many said she was lucky. Many said her opponents were simply not good enough. The ground shook as her opponent entered the arena. He was massive. He stood over 3 meters tall. His body was covered in gray-green muscle. His arms were as thick as tree trunks. His face was ugly and brutal with small eyes and large teeth. He was a Thornax, a species from a distant world known for one terrifying ability. And her opponent, the announcer continued, from the swamp world of Morthax Prime. He has never lost a fight. He has never been defeated. He is Grunk the Immortal. The crowd went wild. Grunk raised his massive fists and roared. The sound was so loud that Kira could feel it in her chest. She did not move. She did not show fear. She had studied this creature. She knew what he could do. She also knew that what she was about to attempt had never been done before. Grunk looked down at the small human woman. He laughed. The sound was deep and cruel. "Little soft thing," he said in broken common tongue. "You will be easy meal. I will eat your bones." Kira did not respond. She simply raised her swords and took her fighting stance. Her muscles were tense. Her breathing was controlled. Her heart beat steady and strong. The fight began. Grunk charged forward like a living mountain. His speed was surprising for his size. His massive fist came down toward Kira's head with enough force to break stone. But she was not there. She moved like water, flowing around his attack. Her blade cut across his arm, opening a deep wound. Green blood sprayed onto the sand. Grunk roared in anger. But then something happened that made many fighters before Kira lose all hope. The wound began to close. The torn flesh began to repair itself. Within seconds, the cut was completely gone. Not even a scar remained. This was the power of the Thornax. They could regenerate from almost any injury. Cut off their arm and it would grow back. Stab their heart and it would heal. They were nearly impossible to kill. This was why Grunk had never lost. This was why he was called the Immortal. "You see, little human?" Grunk laughed. "You cannot hurt Grunk. Grunk always heals. Grunk always wins." Kira did not waste breath on words. She attacked again. Her swords moved faster than most eyes could follow. She cut Grunk's chest. She sliced his legs. She opened wounds on his arms and back. Each time, green blood flowed. Each time, the wounds healed within seconds. The audience watched with growing excitement. They had seen this before. They knew how this fight would end. The human would tire herself out. Then Grunk would crush her. It was always the same. But Kira was not like other fighters. She had spent months preparing for this moment. She had studied every recording of Grunk's fights. She had noticed something that others had missed. Something important. After 10 minutes of constant fighting, Kira jumped back and stood still. She was breathing hard now. Sweat covered her body. Grunk stood across from her, completely unharmed. Not a single mark remained on his gray-green skin. Tired already? Grunk mocked. Human body so weak, so fragile. Now Grunk will finish you. He charged again. But this time, Kira did something unexpected. She did not dodge. She waited. At the last moment, she dropped low and swung both swords with all her strength. The blades cut clean through Grunk's right leg, just below the knee. The massive troll fell forward, crashing into the sand. His severed leg rolled away across the arena floor. Green blood pumped from the stump. The crowd gasped. This was a serious wound. But they had seen Grunk survive worse. Grunk pushed himself up with his massive arms. He looked at his missing leg and laughed. Stupid human. Watch and learn. The stump began to move. Flesh and bone started to grow from the wound. Slowly a new leg began to form. The crowd cheered. This was the power they had come to see. The unbeatable regeneration of the Thornax. But something was different this time. Kira saw it immediately. Grunk's movements became slower. His eyes lost some of their focus. His breathing became heavy. Growing a new limb required enormous energy. It drew from his body's reserves. For the first time in the fight, Grunk looked tired. Kira attacked. She moved before the new leg was fully formed. Her swords flashed in the arena lights. She cut off Grunk's left arm at the shoulder. Then she spun and took his right arm below the elbow. Green blood splashed across the sand like rain. Grunk fell onto his back. He could not push himself up now. He had no arms to support himself. But already his body was trying to heal. 3 limbs began to regenerate at once. Bone stretched out from the stumps. Muscle wrapped around the bone. Skin covered the muscle. But the process was slow, much slower than before. Grunk's body was being pushed to its limit. His face twisted with pain and exhaustion. What is this? He gasped. Kira stood over him. For the first time, she spoke. Your regeneration is not unlimited. Every time you heal, you use energy. Energy from your body. Energy from your food reserves. Energy from your very cells. I watched all your fights. I counted every wound you healed. I calculated how much energy each healing required. She raised her sword and cut off his newly grown arm. It was only half formed. It fell onto the sand like a piece of raw meat. You think you are immortal, Kira continued. But you are not. You can be killed. You just need someone willing to keep cutting. She struck again and again. Every time a limb started to grow, she cut it off. Every time Grunk tried to heal, she opened new wounds. The mighty troll began to shrink before everyone's eyes. His body was consuming itself to fuel the regeneration. His muscles became smaller. His skin became loose. His eyes sank into his skull. The crowd had become completely silent. They had never seen anything like this. They were watching the immortal die. Grunk tried to speak, but his voice was weak. Please. No more. Grunk surrenders. Kira paused. She looked down at the creature that had killed so many fighters. So many warriors who had families. So many people who had begged for mercy just like this and received none. She remembered watching the recordings of Grunk's fights. She remembered how he laughed while crushing his opponents slowly, how he enjoyed their pain. Did you stop when they begged? She asked quietly. She raised her sword one final time. The arena erupted in chaos. Some aliens cheered. Others screamed in disbelief. The unthinkable had happened. The immortal was dead. A human had done what no one believed possible. She had found the weakness in something everyone thought was invincible. But Kira felt no joy. She felt no triumph. She simply felt tired. Her arms ached. Her body was covered in green blood that was not her own. She dropped her swords and walked toward the arena exit. The announcer was struggling to find words. The winner, the new galactic champion, Kira the Human Blade. News of her victory spread across the galaxy within hours. On every planet and every species, beings talked about the human woman who had killed the immortal troll. Scientists analyzed her strategy. Warriors studied her technique. Philosophers debated what it meant. On Earth, people celebrated. For too long, humans had been treated as weak, as primitive, as nothing special. But now the whole galaxy knew the truth. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. They did not have natural weapons or abilities like other species. But humans had something else. They had minds that could find patterns. They had patience to wait and plan. They had the determination to keep fighting even when victory seemed impossible. They had the creativity to find solutions that no one else could see. Kira returned to Earth as a hero. Children wanted to be like her. Adults respected her. The government offered her riches and fame, but she refused it all. She had not fought for glory. She had not fought for money. She had fought because someone had to show the galaxy what humans could do. She went back to her small home in the mountains. She put away her swords. She tried to forget the screams of her opponents. She tried to forget the feel of cutting through flesh and bone. But every night, she dreamed of the arena. Every night, she heard Grunk's final words. Other species began to treat humans differently. The little soft creatures from the blue planet were no longer a joke. They were something to be respected, something to be feared. Not because of their bodies, but because of their minds. Years later, when young aliens asked their parents about humans, they would hear the same answer. Never underestimate them. They may look weak. They may seem harmless. But give them time, and they will find your weakness. They always find the weakness. And somewhere on Earth, an old woman with scars on her arms would sit on her porch and watch the sunset. She would remember the arena. She would remember the blood. She would remember the moment when hope turned to despair, not for her, but for the creature who thought himself immortal. That was the day the galaxy learned an important lesson. Strength is not about power. Strength is not about size. Strength is about the will to keep fighting when everyone says you cannot win. And no species in the galaxy had more of that will than humans. The stars continued to shine above the little blue planet. And everywhere in the galaxy, other species looked at those stars and knew that somewhere out there, the humans were watching back, planning, thinking, finding weaknesses. And that thought kept many of them awake at night.